And there's some
Why
big
is that?
Monsters.
Because, I don't know, I guess they
Is it immoral to catch them at night? Bass fishermen, so even though I grew up bass fishing and I consider myself bass fisher, they have a lot of weird rules. Like, you can't eat bass, I'm like, a bass is a fish.
And
like
it needs to happen in a lot of cases.
Yes.
Needs to happen.
Guys, if you're ever fishing at a lake or a pond and the bass have really big heads and like kind of these weird skinny bodies that look out of proportion, that is a lake where they need to start keeping some bass because there are too many bass in there. Big heads, like skinny bodies. If the bass just looks off, that's not good. If you have a bass that's like fat or the body's really wide, it doesn't have to be fat, just as the body's wide, that's a healthy lake. Like the ratio of bait to bass is good. But you need to start actually keeping them in your pond or lake if they got the big head.
Yeah, and that happens definitely a lot of ponds around here.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of pond owners are like, don't keep anything, but it's a fine line between, or maybe not it's a fine line, but it's like a gray area between how many, if you're not the one catching and keeping, how do you let some people keep the bass, some people not, and know that they're doing it at the right ratio? It's just a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's best always, I don't know. I mean, if you get a paper thin bass and you're at a public lake, honestly, do the place a favor and take it out.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you take a bass out and like out of the water, go ahead and eat it. But like I'm not saying you should yeet a bass out and just get rid of it and not do anything with it. But even the lake might even do better if that bass was wasted.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just eat it. It's might as well just eat it.
I actually know a city pond right in the middle of Boise. Nobody's allowed to fish, and the bass are horribly unhealthy in there. Because I don't know who does this, but some people go down there late in the evening and catches them, even though they're all the no fishing signs up, and they've seen them, and the bass they're very unhealthy, and it's got that fisherman concerned.
Here's a question: take a normal pond in Kentucky. You have largemouth bass, catfish,
Bluegill.
Yeah, and panfish, anything like that. There's no real predators, and so ponds can get out of hand really quickly. Before, let's say, rivers and natural lakes, does bass have a natural predator around here?
Around here?
Yeah, like maybe a pike.
I don't think so. I think they're pretty at the top.
That's what I'm thinking. So what naturally keeps them in check? Because you know something usually, unless it's like a disease or eagles, which we don't have eagles, really.
Maybe a walleye, maybe?
That's what I'm thinking. We have muskie here. We have muskie here.
A muskie would eat a bass 100%.
Yeah, they're mainly in creeks, though.
Yeah.
They may need a lot of oxygen.
Like the population, I feel like, wouldn't make that big of a dent because it's not like you have rivers filled with 10,000 muskie or something like that, you know?
Huh.
Muskie usually, they're kind of like, they grow slowly, it seems like to me, and they're not like super thick populations unless you're like up in Canada.
Yeah, they're a fish of 1,000 cats or 10,000?
10,000 cats.
Yeah. I've muskie fished like once or twice and never had any luck, but it just takes time and a lot of it.
I've never caught a muskie before, believe it or not.
They're like right in the creek, 20 minutes, and you're just right in. Apparently good spots too, but a good spot for muskie may mean that you catch one a year. I don't know. Wow. I'm not really that sure. I'm not sure. But I mean, a good spot for bluegill, you better catch about 30 or in a good spot for bluegill. Yeah. So you big fishermen, everybody knows that. Not a secret at all. Outside of fishing, what are your hobbies?
Ooh.
Because, like, for me, an example, man, I was thinking about this earlier. My hobbies are like hunting, fishing, trapping, and then maybe just like a few random things, and even gaming. All that goes on YouTube, but I don't think that's a problem. But what are yours besides fishing?
So that's been a weird thing for me because I do YouTube and fishing was my fun, and now I get like, it's my job now to go fishing. Yeah. And so finding other things to do was a little bit hard. But this sounds kind of funny to say, but I really like working out. If that's a hobby.
Yeah, but, for sure it is.
I don't
know nothing about it, but
I like
and Ethan
working out.
No experience. Ethan has a little experience. Recently.
Not that I'm a gym bro or anything. I don't go in there start doing stuff, but I work out like pretty frequently, and I enjoy like spending some time at the gym. And I so many times, like just for fun, I'll explore a place.
Oh yeah.
And I like to snorkel whenever I can.
Oh wow.
I snorkel whenever I can. which is why I go to tropical places.
Oh, yeah.
a lot.
Are you talking about like abandoned places and stuff like that?
Snorkel? No, just
no,
like,
explore.
Explore.
oh, explore?
Yeah.
Oh, just straight up like you get in the truck with no plan.
Oh, wow.
And
That
you
is
just
cool.
go. And so, like, especially down here, or like, so the way I discovered hot springs. So on my YouTube channel, some of the most famous videos are hot springs videos.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you find those? Driving around. You go up into the mountains, and it's like, this road looks cool on the map, and it turns into a dirt road right here. It's a dirt road for 30, 40 miles. It's like, let's go up that dirt road. Whoa, there's a hot springs. And you're the only person there. That's what I'm talking about, like exploring.
And a lot of the places out there in the mountains, no service.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are unlucky or forget or just don't know, whenever you go out of service, your GPS works, but your map doesn't. So you can see your GPS point moves, but you don't know where it is.
Uh-huh.
Like, I pulled up maps with no service. GPS works fine, but unfortunately, it's just a grid.
I had a friend, so get this, he would go out hunting in the mountains by himself,
Yeah.
which I don't recommend to any viewers out there, but he would. And he would go out there, and his mom made him get a GPS tracking device on his phone, so she always knew where he was.
Mm-hmm.
And so he would go out in the mountains. He said one time he went out there, and he was tracking these deer. And
Man.
he's following along the ridgeline. He said, well, I kept moving. He's getting farther and farther away from his truck. He said, in my mind, I wasn't very far away from my truck. And he knew it was like mile marker 11 or whatever
Yeah.
that he was by. And he parked. And so he said, I keep tracking these deer. Boom, gets one. He's like, sweet. Well, now I have to pack it back. So he's like, okay, so I'll pack, what was like half of it right now, and I'll come back, go back to my truck, try to get the truck closer. Because in Idaho, there's a lot of like roads and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So try to get my truck closer. We'll get the rest. And so he's like, I get my pack, and he's like, I'm starting to walk, and he's like, I have no idea like, where I am. I'm like far away. He's like, I didn't realize in my mind how far I had walked from my truck. So he gets to this spot. He kind of knows generally where he's at.
Yeah.
And there's this, like, kind of a steep dirt cliff. But he said it was a cliff, but it was dirt. It wasn't like rock, straight down, but 80 degrees or something like that. And he said, I'm like, I think I might try to like climb down this because he could see the road. He said I was pretty high up. So he starts climbing down, and he said, I tumble. And he rolls and rolls and rolls. It was like a dangerous roll all the way down to the bottom. And he said, my mom can see me on her GPS. So she's telling the story later. Like, my son just fell off a cliff. And so she's like worried. And he said, of course, in the aftermath, I don't pop up right away. He said, I'm sitting there for a little bit. So she's like freaking out because on her GPS, it's like still. I'm just like at the bottom of a cliff, it looks like to her. And
Which he was.
Which he was. Yeah. But it wasn't quite like he died.
Yeah.
So he said, I gather my backpack and all that stuff up. He said, I pop up on the main road there. And he said, this truck, fortunately, was coming up. And the guy's like, hey, are you okay? You look pretty bad. He was like, yeah, I'll be fine. I'm just walking back to my truck. They're like, where are you parked? He's about back at mile marker 11. They're like, you're like by mile marker 19, aren't you? He's like, oh. So he said they gave him a ride all the way back to his truck.
Did he get to keep his deer?
I think he did. He got the whole thing.
Dang.
So
That's rough, man. And like, for us, our exploring or whatever, man, there's not an extreme amount to explore in Kentucky because there is a lot of houses scattered. Like, there's not a lot of dense stuff, but there are houses pretty much at the bottom of every holler.
Yeah. You know what the problem is? So I've had a hard time exploring in the South. In Idaho, I think it's 90% public land.
Mm-hmm.
You come here, and I'm like, in fact, when I first moved here, I was like, I'm just going to set off exploring again. And I'm driving like, where's their access anywhere? I struggled with that.
I remember watching a video of yours, and you was like, it's a hard time finding a place to fish because it's all the creeks are.
Yeah. I was like, I'll just find a little creek. This will be simple. It was the eating only way to catch for 3 days. Yeah, that was where I was like, this is easy, eating only way to catch. I'm just going to find some random place along a creek. Yeah, 3 hours later, I finally find an access, to fish or whatever.
I guess for public land around public waterways, your best bet's find some water next to a road.
Yeah, yeah, and that's exactly what I found.
Yeah. If you like this clip, guys, go on down, first link in the description, or type in Kicking It with KG. Ace videos, and you will find the full podcast there. Check it out, guys. You may like it. If you like this segment, you'll definitely like that.